What has two thumbs and was trying to get Devonta Smith on all of their Dynasty and Redraft teams last year? Well, I still have two thumbs, and I also have Devonta Smith on a ton of my teams this year, but now it's time to go after another wide receiver who I think can be this year's Devonta Smith. Now, before I tell you who it is, I've got some exciting news to share. Introducing Draft Lane, the ultimate app for every fantasy football enthusiast. Take a trip down memory lane with our unique league history feature, giving you a comprehensive view of all your past leagues. Challenge yourself by comparing your historical performance against your league mates. Climb up the ranks and strive for the top spot in the Draft Lane rankings. Connect directly with Pierre and myself to receive answers to all your burning fantasy questions. Experience the ultimate draft companion. We can tell you exactly who to pick when you're on the clock to help you draft that winning roster. During the season, rely on Draft Lane to help you set winning lineups, make strategic waiver pickups, and even get personalized trade advice, all through our user-friendly app. Download Draft Lane for free on the App Store or Google Play for Android phones today. And here's an exclusive offer. Be one of the first 10 people to sign up using promo code FANTASYEG1 and we will put $10 in your account. Don't wait. Join the fantasy football revolution with Draft Lane. Download now and start dominating your league. Now, before I drop the name of the wide receiver I am targeting this year in Dynasty and Redraft, I think it's good to go back and look at Devonta Smith so we can understand where I'm coming from when I'm talking about this wide receiver. Devonta Smith was, of course, an elite wide receiver, an elite prospect coming out of college, got incredibly high draft capital with the number 10 pick in the NFL draft behind only Jamar Chase at wide receiver. And remember, as a college wide receiver, this guy won the Heisman Trophy, had one of the best seasons in college football history for any wide receiver. Of course, he landed with the Eagles in a situation that wasn't really great for wide receivers or a passing offense. Had Jalen Hurts, who was still a very young, inexperienced quarterback at the time, in a very run-heavy offense. So because of that, he put up pretty modest numbers as a rookie. 64 catches, 916 yards, and only 5 touchdowns. And most people kind of considered him not necessarily a bust, but after what Jamar Chase did in year one and what Justin Jefferson had done the year before, and even guys like CeeDee Lamb prior, people were kind of low on him coming out of his first year. But if you look deeper beyond just the box scores, beyond just the stats, you would have understood that his rookie year was completely elite and he was on the trajectory to be an elite wide receiver. Take a look at his reception perception coming out of his rookie year. He was highly successful on every single route other than the go route. This guy was an elite route runner in college, and that transferred directly to the NFL. But what you really had to like was how he did against certain coverages. He ranked in the 77th percentile against man, a great number. 83rd percentile against zone, another fantastic number. And 84th percentile against press, a great number, especially for a rookie. When you look deeper at Devonta Smith after year one, you would have seen a guy who was ready to be an elite wide receiver at some point in the near future. And we saw it last year when he had almost 100 catches, 1,200 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And now Devonta Smith is valued very highly as a dynasty wide receiver and also in redraft leagues, typically going in the late second, early third round. But the reason I was trying to target him so much last year, especially in dynasty leagues, but also in redraft leagues, is people hadn't bought in. They thought the situation was bad and they didn't think he was on this elite trajectory. There were worries about the offense being too run heavy. There were worries about Jalen Hurts not being able to support an elite wide receiver. And then, of course, the Eagles went out and traded for A.J. Brown, and people were worried that there's not enough for both A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith here. Well, I think that all got put to bed last year. So all of this leads me to this year's Devonta Smith. I've given you a bunch of clues. Have you figured it out yet? It's Drake London. While Drake London didn't have the collegiate season that Devonta Smith did, and he certainly didn't win the Heisman, he was a great prospect coming out of college. Probably the number 3 or 4 wide receiver in last year's rookie class. And he was the first wide receiver selected with the 8th pick by the Atlanta Falcons. And his rookie year stats were very similar to Devonta Smith's. Just over 70 catches, just under 900 yards, and only 4 touchdowns. And now Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave are getting all the year 2 hype. But Drake London is the one who really has tremendous upside and is on an elite trajectory. I mean, so are Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, but they're being treated as such. Drake London is the one who is on an elite trajectory who isn't being treated that way. Because when you look beyond just the stats, you see a wide receiver who is incredibly skilled at his position. Check out his reception perception. Extremely successful on almost the entire route tree. 71st percentile success rate versus man, 77th percentile versus zone, 69th percentile versus press. While he's not quite on the same level Devonta Smith was, these are exceptional numbers for a rookie, and most wide receivers who start their career this way end up being very, very good wide receivers in the NFL. And now tell me if this sounds familiar. Drake London isn't being valued very highly in Dynasty or Redraft because, well, he's on the Falcons. They're a run-heavy offense. There's question marks about their quarterback, Desmond Ridder. Kind of sounds like Devonta Smith going into year 2, right? And yes, last year the Falcons were extremely run-heavy. In fact, only the Bears threw the ball less than the Falcons on a per-game basis. When you look at the last 3 games, the Falcons actually attempted almost 30 pass attempts per game. And while in today's NFL, that isn't an extremely high number, it's enough to support a wide receiver like Drake London. You got to remember, those were the first starts of Desmond Ridder's career. Now he's going to have a full offseason to learn the Arthur Smith offense as the number 1 QB with no worry about that. You got to think he's probably going to at least get better in year 2. I'm not saying he's going to make a Jalen Hurts type of leap, but I think he can at least be better, and this offense will throw the ball, I would have to think, at least closer to 30 times a game rather than under 25 times per game. And you may be thinking, oh, I don't care. Desmond Ridder's terrible, and I don't think that's good for Drake London. And you could be right. But look at the difference in Drake London with Marcus Mariota versus Desmond Ridder. In the first 13 games with Marcus Mariota before the team's bye, Drake London topped 14 fantasy points 4 times. He did it twice in just 4 games with Desmond Ridder. And again, that was Desmond Ridder making his first NFL starts ever. We're going to see a more comfortable Desmond Ridder. We're going to see a more dynamic offense than what we saw last year. Drake London has everything necessary to be an elite NFL wide receiver. All he needs is an offense that throws the ball a little bit better and a quarterback that throws the ball a little bit better. I think he'll have both of those this year. Drake London is a guy I am trying to get in every single league I can, and you should be too. I think Drake London is a great pick this year in your fantasy drafts. But if you want to know who Pierre and I think are the best picks in fantasy drafts, check out this video right here.